その頃、ユダは兄弟たちを離れて下り、アドナム人で、なお、ヒラというもののところへ行った。And it came to pass at that time that Judah went down from his brethren and turned to a certain Alamite whose name was Hira. ユダはそのところで、なお、シュアというカナン人の娘を見て、これをめとり、そのところに入った。And Judah saw that there was a daughter of the certain Canaanite whose name was Shua, and took her and went on to her. 彼女は身ごもって男の子を産んだので、ユダはその名をエルと名付けた。She conceived and bare a son, and he called his name彼女は再び身ごもって男の子を産み、名をオナンと名付けた。And she conceived again and bare a son, and she called his name Onan. また重ねて男の子を産み、その名をシラと名付けた。彼女はこの男の子を産んだとき、グジブに置いた。And she yet again conceived and bare a son, and called his name Shelah, and he was at Chizib, when she bare him. イラは長子エルのためになおタマルという妻を迎えた。And Judah took a wife for his firstborn, whose name was Tamar. しかしユダの長子エルは主の前に悪いものであったので、主は彼を殺された。And Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord slew him. そこでユダはオナンに言った。兄の妻のところに入って、彼女をめとり、兄に子供を得させなさい。And Judah said unto Onan, Go into thy brother's wife, and marry her, and raise up seed to thy brother. しかし、オナンはその子が自分のものとならないのを知ったので、兄の妻のところに入ったとき、兄に子にを得させないために血に許した。And Onan knew that the seed would not be his. And it came to pass, when he went unto his brother's wife, that he spilled it on the ground, lest he should give seed to his brother. 彼のしたことは、主の前に悪かったので、主は彼をも殺された。And the thing which he did displeased the Lord, wherefore he slew him also. しかしオナンはその後は自分のものとならないのを知ったので、兄の妻のところに入ったとき、兄に超えさせないために地に漏らした。And Onan knew that his seed would not be his. And it came to pass when he went into his brother's wife that he spilled it on the ground, lest he should give seed to his brother. 彼のしたことは主の前に悪かったので、主は彼をも殺された。And the thing which he did displeased the Lord, wherefore he slew him also. そこでユダはその子の妻タマルに言った。私の子シダが成人するまで、カフのままであなたの父の家にいなさい。彼はシダもまた兄弟たちのように死ぬかもしれないと思ったからである。それでタマルは言って父の家におった。Then said Judah to Tamar his daughter-in-law, Remain a widow at thy father's house, till Salah my son be grown. For he said, Lest peradventure he die also. And his brethren did. And Tamar went and dwelt in his father's house. 日が経ってシュアの娘、ユダの妻は死んだ。その後、ユダはもう終えて、その友、アドラム人、ヒラと共に、ティムネに登り、自分の羊の毛を切る者のところへ行った。In the process of the time of the daughter of Shua, Judah's wife died, and Judah was comforted and went up into his sheep shearers to Timnah, he and his friend Hira the Alamite. 時に一人の人がタマルに告げて、あなたの舅が羊の毛を切るためにティムネに登っていると言ったので、And it was told to Tamar, saying, Behold, thy father-in-law goeth up to Timnah to shear his sheep. 彼女はカフの衣服を脱ぎ捨てて、日衣で身を覆い隠して、テムナへ行く道の傍らにあるエナイムの入り口に座っていた。彼女はシダが成長したのに、自分がその妻にさせられないのを知ったからである。And she put her widow's garments off from her, and covered her with a veil, and wrapped herself, and sat in an open place, which is by the way to Timnah, for she saw that Salah was grown, and she was not given him unto his wife. ヒラは彼女を見たとき、彼女が顔を覆っていたため、遊女だと思い、and when Judah saw her, he thought her to be a harlot, because she had covered her face. 道の傍らで彼女に向かって言った。さあ、あなたのところに入らせておくれ。彼女は、この女が我が子の娘であることをしなかったからである。彼女は言った。私のところに入るため、 何をくださいますか? And he turned and said unto her by the way, and said, Go, I pray thee, let me come in unto thee. For he knew not she was his daughter-in-law. And she said, What wilt thou give me, that thou mayest come unto me? ユダは言った。胸のうちのヤギの子をあなたにあげよう。彼女は言った。それをくださうまで印を私にくださいますか? And he said, I will send thee a kid from the flock. And she said, Wilt thou give me a pledge till thou send it? ユダは言った。どんな印をあげようか? 彼女は言った。あなたの印と紐とあなたの手にある杖を。あなたはこれらを与えて彼女のところに入った。彼女はユダによって身ごもった。And he said, What pledge shall I give thee? And she said, Thy signet, thy bracelets, thy staff that is in thine hand. And he gave it to her, and came in unto her, and she conceived by him. 彼女は起きて去り、日衣を脱いで、カフの衣服を着た。And she arose and went away and laid her veil from her and put in the garments of her widowhood. やがてユダはその女から印を取り戻そうと、その友アドラム人に託してヤギの子を送ったけれども、その女を見出せなかった。And Judah sent the kid by the hand of the friend, the Adamite, to receive his pledge from the woman's hand, but he found her not. そこで彼はそのところの人々に尋ねていった。エナイムの道の傍らにいた遊女はどこにいますか? 彼らは言った。ここには遊女はいません。And she asked the men of that place, saying, Where is the harlot that was openly by the wayside? And they said, There is no harlot in this place. 彼は、ユダのもとに帰って言った。私は彼女を見出せませんでした。またそのところの人々は、ここには遊女はいないと言いました。And he returned to Judah and said, I cannot find her. And also the men of the place said that there was no harlot in this place. そこでユダは言った。女に待たせておこう。私たちは恥をかくといけないから。とにかく私はこのヤギの子を送ったが、あなたは彼女を見出せなかったのだ。And Judah said, let her take it to her, lest we be shamed. Behold, I send this kid, and thou hast not found her. ところが3日ほど経って、一人の人がユダに言った。あなたの嫁、タマルは会員しました。せゆえ、彼女は会員によって身ごもりました。ユダは言った。彼女を引き出して焼いてしまえ。And it came to pass about 3 months after that it was told to Judah, saying, Tamar thy daughter-in-law hath played the harlot, and also, behold, she is with the child by whoredom. And Judah said, Bring her forth, and let her be burnt. 彼女は引き渡されたとき、姑に人を使わしていった。私はこれを持っている人によって身ごもりました。彼女はまた言った。どうかこの印と、綱と杖とは誰のものか見定めてください。And she was brought forth and sent to her father-in-law, saying, By men whose these are, I am with the child. And she said, Discern, I pray thee, whose these are, the signet, the bracelets, and the staff. ユダはこれを見定めて言った。彼女は私よりも正しい。私が彼女を我が子をシナに与えなかったためである。彼は再び彼女を知らなかった。And Judah acknowledged them and said, She hath been more righteous than I, because I gave her not to Selah my son, and she knew her again no more. さて、彼女の出産の時が来たが、体内には双子があった。And it came to pass in the time of her travail that, behold, twins were in her womb. 出産の時に一人の子が手を出したので、サンバはこれが先に出たと言い、火の糸を取ってその手に結んだ。And it came to pass when she travailed that the one put out his hand, and the midwife took and bound upon his hand a scarlet thread, saying, This came out first. そしてその子が手を引っ込めると、その弟が出たので、どうしてあなたは自分で破って出るのかと言った。これによって名はペレズと呼ばれた。And it came to pass as he drew back his hand that, behold, his brother came out, and she said, Hast thou broken forth? And this breach be upon thee. Therefore his name was called Phares. その後、手に火の糸のある兄が出たので、名はゼラと呼ばれた。And afterwards came out his brother, and had the scarlet thread upon his hand, and his name was called Zerah. さて、ヨセフは連れて、 伝れてエジプトに下ったが、パロの役人で自衛長であってエジプト人、ポテパルは彼をここに連れて下ったイシュマエル人らの手から買い取った。And Joseph was brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, the captain of the guard, an Egyptian, brought him of the hands of the Ishmaelites, which had brought him down thither. 主がヨセフと共におられたので、彼は幸運なものとなり、その主人、エジプト人の家におった。And the Lord was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man, and he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian. その主人は、主が彼と共に会うことと、主が彼の手のすることをすべて栄えさせるのを見た。And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all that he did to prosper in his hand. そこでヨセフは彼の前に恵みを得、そのそば近く仕えた。彼はヨセフに家を司らせ、持ち物を皆彼の手に委ねた。And Joseph found grace in his sight, and he served him, and he made him an overseer of the house, and all that he had put into his hand. 彼がヨセフに家とすべての持ち物を司らせた時から、主はヨセフのゆえに、そのエジプト人の家を恵まれたので、主の恵みは彼の家と畑とにあるすべての持ち物に及んだ。And it came to pass from the time that he had made him overseer in his house, and over all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. And the blessing of the Lord was upon all that he had in the house and in the field. そこで彼は持ち物を皆ヨセフの手に委ねて、自分が食べるものの他は何をも顧みなかった。さてヨセフは姿が良く、顔が美しかった。And he left all that he had in Joseph's hand, and he knew not aught he had, save the bread which he did eat. And Joseph was a godly person, as well as favored. これらのことの後、主人の妻はヨセフに目をつけていった。私と寝なさい。And it came to pass after these things, that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph, and she said, Lie with me. ヨセフは拒んで、主人の妻に言った。主人は私がいるので、家の中の何をも顧みず、その持ち物を皆私の手に委ねられました。But he refused and said unto his master's wife, Behold, my master wotteth not that what is with me in the house, and he that committeth all that he hath to my hand. この家には私よりも大いなるものはありません。また、未主人はあなたを除いては何をも私に禁じられませんでした。あなたの未主人の妻であるからです。どうして私はこの大きな悪を行って神に罪を犯すことはできましょう。There is none greater than this house than I. Neither hath he kept back anything from me but thee, because thou art his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? 彼女は毎日ヨセフに言い寄ったけれども、ヨセフは聞き入れず、彼女と寝なかった。また共にいなかった。And it came to pass, as she spake to Joseph day by day, that he hearkened not unto her, to lie by her, or to be with her. ある日、ヨセフが務めをするために家に入ったとき、家の者が一人もそこにいなかったので、And it came to pass about this time that Joseph went into the house to do his business, and there was none of the men of the house therewith. 彼女はヨセフの置物を捕らえて、私と寝なさいと言った。ヨセフは着物を彼女を手に残して、外に逃れ出た。And she caught him by his garment, saying, Lie with me. And he left his garment in her hand, and fled, and got him out. 彼女はヨセフが着物を自分の手に残して、外に逃れたのを見て、And it came to pass that she saw that he had left his garment in her hand, and was fled with him. その家の者どもを呼び、彼らに告げていった。主人が私たちのところに連れてきた、ヘブル人は私たちに戯れます。彼は私と寝ようとして私のところに入ったので、私は大声で叫びました。And she called unto the men of her house, and spake unto them, saying, See, he hath brought in an Hebrew unto mock us, and he came unto me to lie with me, and I cried with a loud voice. 彼は私が声を上げて叫ぶのを聞くと、着物を私のところに残して外に逃れ出ました。And it came to pass when he heard that I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me and fled, and got him out. 彼女はその着物を傍らに置いて、主人の帰ってくるのを待った。And she laid up his garment by her until his Lord came. そして 彼女は次のように主人に告げた。あなたが私たちに連れて来られたヘブルのしもべは私に戯れようとして私のところに入ってきました。And she spake unto him according to these words, saying, The Hebrew servant which thou hast brought unto us came in unto me to mock me. 私が声を上げて叫んだので、彼は着物を私のところに残して外に逃れました。And it came to pass as I lifted up my voice and cried that he left his garment with me and fled out. 主人はその妻があなたのしもべは私にこんなことをしたと告げる言葉を聞いて激しく怒った。And it came to pass when his master heard the words of his wife, which he spake unto him, saying, After this manner did thy servant to me, that his wrath was kindled. そしてヨセフの主人は彼を捕らえて、主の囚人をつなぐ獄屋に投げ入れられた。こうしてヨセフは獄屋の中におったが、Joseph's master took him and put him into prison, where the king's prisoners were bound, and he was there in the prison. 主はヨセフと共におられて、彼にいくつ慈しみを垂れ、極野蛮の恵みを受けさせられた。But the Lord was with Joseph and showed him mercy and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. 極野蛮は極野によるすべての囚人をヨセフの手に委ねたので、彼はそこでするすべてのことを行った。And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners that were in prison, and whatsoever they did there, he was the doer of it. 極野蛮は彼の手に委ねたことは一切顧みなかった。主はヨセフと共におられたからである。主は彼のなすことを栄えさせられた。And the keeper of the prison looked not to anything that was under his hand, because the Lord was with him, and without which he did, the Lord made it to prosper. これらのことの後、エジプトの王の給仕役と料理役とがその主君エジプト王に罪を犯した。And it came to pass after these things that the butler of the king of Egypt and the baker had offended their lord and the king of Egypt. パロは二人の役に、すなわち給仕役の長と料理役の長に向かって憤り、and Pharaoh was wroth against two of his officers, against the chief of the butlers and against the chief of the bakers. 自衛長の家の監禁所、すなわちヨセフがつながれている獄屋に入れた。And he put them in the ward of the house of the captain of the guard, into the prison, in the place where Joseph was bound. 自衛長はヨセフに命じて彼らと共におられたので、ヨセフは彼らに仕えた。こうして彼らは監禁所で幾日か過ごしたが、And the captain of the guard charged Joseph with them, and he served them, and they continued a season in the ward. さて、獄屋につながれたエジプト王の給仕役と料理役の二人は、一夜のうちにそれぞれ意味のある夢を見た。And they dreamed a dream, both of them, each man his dream in one night, each man according to the interpretation of his dream, the butler and the baker of the king of Egypt, which were bound in the prison. ヨセフが朝、彼らのところへ行ってみると、彼ら悲しみに沈んでいた。And Joseph came unto them in the morning, and looked upon them, and behold, they were sad. そこでヨセフは自分と一緒に主人の家の監禁所にいるパロの役人たちを訪ねて行った。どうして今日あなた方の顔色が悪いのですか？ And he asked Pharaoh's officers that were with him in the ward of his lord's house, saying, Wherefore look ye so sadly today? 彼らは言った。私たちは夢を見ましたが、解いてくれる者がいません。ヨセフは彼らに言った。解くことは神によるのではありませんか？どうぞ私に話してください。And they said unto him, We have dreamed a dream, and there is no interpreter of it. And Joseph said unto them, Do not the interpretations belong to God? Tell me them, I pray you. 給仕役の長はその夢をヨセフに話していった。私が見た夢で、私の前に一本のブドウの木がありました。And the chief butler told his dream to Joseph and said to him, In my dream, behold, a vine was before me. そのブドウの木に三つの枝があって、根を出し、花が咲き、ブドウの深さが熟しました。And in the vine there were 3 branches, as it was, though budded, and her bosom set forth, and the clusters thereof brought forth grapes. 時に私の手にパノの杯があって、私はそのブドウを取り、それをパノの杯に絞り、その杯をパノの手に捧げました。And Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes and pressed them into Pharaoh's cup, and I gave the cup into Pharaoh's hand. ヨセフは言った。その時証はこうです。三つの枝は は3日です。And Joseph said unto him, This is the interpretation of it. The 3 branches are 3 days. 今から3日のうちにパロはあなたの頭を上げてあなたを元の役目に返すでしょう。あなたは先に給仕役だった時に伝えたようにパロの手に杯を捧げられるでしょう。Yet within 3 days shall the Pharaoh lift up thine hand and restore thee unto thy place, and thou shalt deliver Pharaoh's cup into his hand after the former manner when thou wast his butler. そこであなたが幸せになられたから私を覚えてどうか私に恵みを施し私のことをパロに話してこの家から私を出してください。But think on me when it shall be well with thee, and show kindness I pray thee unto me, and make mention of me unto Pharaoh, bring me out of this house. 私は実はヘブル人の地からさらわれてきたものです。またここでも私は地下の極屋にいられるようなことはしなかったのです。For indeed I was stolen out of the land of the Hebrews, and here also have I done nothing that they should put me into this dungeon. 料理役の長はその出かかしのよかったのを見てヨセフに言った。私も夢を見たが、白いパンのカゴが3つ、私の頭の上にあった。And when the chief butler saw that the interpretation was good, he said unto Joseph, I also was in my dream, and behold, I had 3 white baskets on my head. 一番上のカゴには料理役がパロのために作った様々な食物があったが、鳥が私の頭の上のカゴからそれを食べていった。In the uttermost basket there was all manner of basket meats for Pharaoh, and the birds did eat them out of the basket upon my hand. ヨセフは答えていった。その時証はこうです。3つのカゴは3日です。And Joseph answered and said, This is the interpretation thereof. 3 baskets are 3 days. 今から3日のうちにパロはあなたの頭を上げ離してあなたを木にかけるでしょう。そして鳥があなたの肉を食い取るでしょう。Yet within 3 days Pharaoh lift up thy hand from thee, and shall hang thee on a tree, and the birds shall eat thy flesh from off thee. さて3日目はパロの誕生日であったので、パロはすべての家来のために振る舞いを設け、家来のうちの給仕役の長の頭と料理役の長の頭を上げた。And it came to pass on the 3rd day, which was the Pharaoh's birthday, that he made a feast unto all his servants, and he lifted up the head of the chief butler and of the chief baker among his servants. すなわち、パロは給仕役の長を給仕役の職に返したので、彼はパロの手に杯を捧げた。And he restored the chief butler unto his butler shop again, and he gave the cup unto Pharaoh's hands. しかし、パロは料理役の長を木にかけた。ヨセフが彼らに解き明かした通りである。But he hanged the chief baker as Joseph had interpreted to them. ところが、給仕役の長はヨセフを思い出さず忘れてしまった。Yet did not the chief butler remember Joseph, but forgot him. 私は主により頼む。何故あなた方は私に向かって言うのか。鳥のように山に逃れよ。In the Lord I put my trust. How ye say to my soul, Flee as a bird to your mountain. 身よ悪しき者は暗闇で、心の直き者を言おうと矢を張り、ことに矢を使えれいる。For lo, the wicked bend their bow. They make ready their arrow upon the string, that they may privily shoot at the upright in heart. 元いが取り壊されるならば、正しい者は何を成し得ようかと。If the foundations be destroyed, what can the righteous do? 主は聖なる宮にいまし、主の御蔵は天にあり、その目は人の子らを皆備わし、そのまぶたは人の子らを調べられる。The Lord is in his holy temple, the Lord's throne is in the heaven, his eyes behold, his eyelids try, the children of men. 主は正しき者をも悪しき者をも調べ、その御心は乱暴の好む者を憎まれる。The Lord trieth the righteous, but the wicked and him that loveth violence his soul hateth. 主は悪しき者の上に罪人、異様とを降らせられる。燃える風は彼らがその杯に浮くべきものである。Upon the wicked he shall rain snares, fire and brimstone, and a horrible tempest. And they shall be this shall be the portion of their cup. 主は正しくいまして正しいことを愛されるからである。直き者の心は主の御声を仰ぎ見るであろう。For the righteous the Lord loveth righteousness, his countenance doth behold the upright.